Hey guys, just a quick talk about legato. Now legato is just a musical definition, and it basically means to connect notes smoothly, as opposed to staccato, where we kind of shorten each note and make the sequence between notes very defined. Legato kind of smooths that out. It's also come to mean or suggest a technique on the guitar, specifically guitar related. So quite often when we talk of legato playing on guitar, we're talking about a way of playing that uses less emphasis on individual pick strokes and more without the pick, hammer-ons and pull-offs, and you can stay in a position and do it, and you can shift positions. It can be a really expressive way of playing, and I remember when I first saw someone, when I was a young player on classical guitar, and watching someone get those, how did you get two notes when I just saw you pluck one? It sort of really confused me for a long time. And so basically what we're doing is we're getting two notes for the price of one. So a hammer-on is if we playing any note and then we hammer on to the next note. So we're literally plucking once and then hammering a finger down. So pluck, and the other side of that is a pull off, where you're going from a higher note to a lower note. So I, for example, play the second fret and pull off to the first fret. I can do it from any higher note to a lower note. Now there's a couple of little details, so let's look at the hammer-on first of all. There's some really good drills on this in a book that's been around for a long time called Pumping Nylon. It's a classical guitar technique book, and I really recommend you check it out if you're interested in just some technique builders. Even if you're not a classical guitarist, there's a lot of really good drills in there that just help with left hand independence. And so here's a really good drill just to get used to hammer-ons. We're just going to go from the first fret to the second fret. You're going to play on every string. Now the thing to think about with this, it's not, some of my students, when they're first having a go at this, they think that it's really common to think that you need to hammer that note on really hard and use a lot of strength. And you see people, their fingertips are going white, they're pushing all the blood out of their fingertip and they're squeezing really hard with their thumb. And it's actually, the secret to it is not strength, it's speed or velocity. So I don't need any great pressure to get my first note. My finger is not coming from a long way away. It's hovering nearby the string and it's coming on quite fast. It's only traveling about a centimeter max, but it's coming on fast, and that's what doesn't interrupt the vibration of the string. We've already started the string vibrating with the pick stroke, and then it's quick. Now I liken this to martial arts. So Bruce Lee was famous for his 1-inch punch, where famously he could have his fist just 1 inch away from his opponent, and then without a big backswing he could just generate this velocity, this just in that short distance. And there's actual clips of it, you can check it out. He knocks the person across the ground just from that small distance. So I tell my students, the 1-inch punch, remember the 1-inch punch, it's not a big wind up and it's not using all this extra force, it's just really close to your target and then coming quickly onto the note. And you go across every string. Once you've got the idea of that, you go up and down, but it's good to practice this in rhythm. So what you might hear initially is, you're really cutting that first note short and emphasizing the second note. We're actually going to go for even duration of notes. So it's going to sound like this. Sorry. And another thing to consider is if it's too slow, if I really exaggerate this and just go slowly touching the string, I've muted the string. Lost our note. So, hovering quite close, 1-inch punch. Another exercise that we could talk about in the future video is just an experiment where you find out exactly how much force you need to hold a note down, and it's not very much. I won't get too sidetracked, but you only need to use as much force as you need to use. And that's an experiment that you can do yourself. How hard do I really need to press? Lighten up that pressure. Okay, so once you've gone up and down, focusing on even duration of notes and evenness of tone, come back. Next finger combination is fingers 2 and 3. And then you can guess where we're going. After that, we're going to do 3 and 4. These are the ones that are the most awkward to start with. The third and fourth fingers, typically they're not quite as dexterous as 1 and 2 to start with, but keep at it, and you get used to using fingers 3 and 4 for as much as you can. The next, we just go through every combination we can. So once we've gone 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 1 and 3. As you can imagine, up and down, and then 2 and 4. And then the last one will be 1 and 4. These are they're preparation drills. So if you get into the habit of doing these, you get used to playing this way and getting facility with left hand ideas without always using the pick. So then you can incorporate it into your other stuff that you already play. Overdrive will help, but then you've got to really focus on muting the strings that you don't want to ring out, because they will ring out. The next thing to look at is then going from a higher note to a lower note. So 2nd fret, 1st fret. So they're called pull-offs, and it's not just a matter of lifting that finger up. It's actually a slight drag to the side, and you it's almost like you're lightly pressing it into the fingerboard and then coming off to the side of the note of the string, and it pops out, and you almost get a percussive hit to the first note. So it's a smoother, it is a more legato sound than, but there's not necessarily a volume decrease in the second note. Do them on every string, in all the combinations that we did for the hammer-ons. One to 3, or 3 to 1. And then 4 and 2. How long you spend on each one of these is up to you. The idea is not to just rush through anything that you decide to practice. Don't just rush through it just to get through it. Even if you just do a portion of of any activity, but you do it with focus and intention and really check out what's going on. That's better than doing all of these sort of without really paying attention. But if you've got time and focus enough to do them all, it's a great warm-up and it's a great drill. The next combo that I really like is if we start on, doesn't matter where we start, but if we do a little combination. So hammer on, pull off. The next note we do pull off, hammer on. We're just alternating. The other work that you've done up to now on fingers 3 and 4 will pay off, and that becomes doable. The other combos were the 1 and 3. 2 and 4. Finally 1 and 4. I'm sorry that these videos, I get really into it and it takes 10 minutes has gone by. So if you're still watching, good on you. Thanks for watching, and I hope that's a good sort of start to legato techniques. I find it's really good to do these things in isolation or in one position of the neck. So when you watch these guys playing legato licks all over the neck, you don't start there, and they didn't start there, I'm sure. You really nail it down to what's going on in one area, like one string, in one position, and then work your way through the other strings, and then you gradually work at combining ideas all over the fingerboard. But yeah, stick with it. Legato technique. If there's anything else that's not clear, leave me a comment, and let's come up with some ideas on what fundamentals are good to work on. All right, thanks everyone. See ya.